Let's go. And then, Devin, let's do it, baby. Hit it.
You ready?
Hit it.
All right. All right. Let's do it.
Let's go.
We're back.
I'm sitting down today, man. I feel weird.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hey.
Who is ready? Looks like Colton. He's ready, man. We finally got him dancing. He used to just kind of chill out, but now we got Holden fired up. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning.
I love it. All right. Hey guys, welcome to MLO Live Show. Super excited to be here. Got a very special guest, Tera Lawson, out of Wisconsin. I don't have the accent. I got a country, like I can do the country, but I can do the U part a little bit, but yeah, so super cool to have you here. And you're talking about a topic we've never talked about before. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. So Tera, introduce yourself, and then we'll get into your amazing topic that I think is so valuable. And I know I'll learn something, because every time I hear something about the disc profile, it's always like, what? I didn't know that. So
yeah. So my name's Tera Lawson. My husband and I own GCS Title, and actually it's in Minnesota. We have about 12 different locations. And you're right, I'm out of Hudson, Wisconsin. Yes, I've heard I've had the accent. So everybody teases me in a good way about my accent. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about the disc profiles. So this is really geared towards real estate agents and loan officers. And basically, I'm going to teach you about how to get the most and how to get 100% of your leads on the buy side and the sell side. Well, in your case, is it mostly loan officers on here?
Yeah. I think, probably 90% loan officers, some loan officer real estate agents. There might be some real estate agents on here as well. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. But I think this topic fits every business in the world.
It really does. Yeah. I mean, I've taught this class to like even owners of hairstylists with their team and how to get along better with their team. And basically, it's, how people can drive you crazy because they're not exactly like you with your personality. It's showing you guys how to adapt your adaptive personality to match with theirs, because it's not about you at this point. It's about, putting money in your pocket. And that's what we want to do here. And so you just got to kind of keep that mindset and just know that everybody's a little bit different. And yeah. And we'll just go from there. Yeah.
Excellent. And I want to know, I want to be able to have people get a hold of you if they don't know you in the Wisconsin area or wherever you do business. So like whatever is best for you, I could share your social sites or whatever. You want me to share your Facebook, or what's the best for you?
Sure. Facebook would be great. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. You can add me on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, my friend. And guys, this is a good one. So disc profile. Has anybody on here does not know their DISC? Like, do they not know? Anybody? Yes, no? Yes, you know it. No, you don't. Have you ever had a class on this? Know it. Cool. All right. Mm-hmm. I got a couple questions for you, but I'm going to wait for you to do your thing. So,
yeah. And a lot of people have done this. I just kind of customized it towards, and have done a lot of training on this. It's really like the psychology of like the brain. And that just fascinates me on how different people work. And so, yeah, we'll get going here.
For sure. All right.
Let me see if I could do this right the first time here.
All right. I'm gonna grab your Facebook here. I'm gonna put that in the chat. So you guys want to follow her if you want to get with her. She obviously knows a bunch of cool stuff when it comes to your clients. So I'm sure do you incorporate this into your business as far as your title reps and closers and stuff like that?
I do. Every time I hire somebody, I always disc test them first, because it helps me. Then I know, depending on what style of disc they are, it helps me to know how to lead them better. So if I would let's say if I had to reprimand somebody or somebody, not that I like to do that ever, but if I have to, I would look up their disc. I mean, I know them within first 5 minutes. I can tell what they are, but I would treat somebody like a D differently than I would an I or a C.
Gotcha.
So, and we'll get into that too. So it's kind of fun.
Love it. All right.
All right. Let's see if I can do this here. Okay. I'm going to hit share.
Zoom. All right. There we go. It's coming up. Beautiful. Got it. All right. Cool.
All right, where is it on my end here? Okay.
You probably maybe can see it, maybe can, or can you see your screen?
I can't. Let's see, where is it?
Go back to the Zoom, probably.
Let's see if I can do it this way. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Do you guys see it now?
Yep.
Everybody on? Okay. So here's the DISC model. I'm going to go over like the DISC model, and I just want to preference that not everyone is one of one thing. So keep that in mind. So when you're thinking about your clients, I want you to think about what they're probably the highest of, because there's always going to be something that's the highest, unless it's a unicorn and they could have 25% of each one of the styles, which is rare to find, or it could be like kind of 50-50. So we're going to go talk about that. We're going to also talk about like when you're working with, let's say, a husband and a wife. Yes, it may take more time, and keep that in mind when you're working with a husband and wife. So if you have to write an email or a text or call them on the phone, and you have to kind of adjust your personality based on what you know that they are, and you will be able to tell, and as I get through this, you'll be able to tell how they are by the way they write an email, by the way they send a text message, by the way they walk, by the way they talk. You'll be able to tell, and I'm going to show you on what to look for when you're doing that. So if you have to take a few more extra minutes to, like, when you're working with these guys, to talk to the wife differently than the husband, or the husband and wife, whatever, trust me, it's going to make a difference for you, and you're going to get more referrals from that in the end anyways. So
I love it.
We will go over all the different styles here. That's the DISC model. And then we're going to talk about who you are. And I'm sure once you get through there, you're like, oh yes, I'm definitely a high I, or I'm a DI, or I'm an SC. So we're going to go over that. And we're going to talk about why other people drive you crazy. There's not one perfect style. There's just one way to communicate each style. So the whole premise of this presentation is the DISC will help you treat people the way they want to be treated. So keep that in mind. Again, try to put the ego aside and be like, I want, this is your livelihood. This is how you're going to make money. So this is how they want to be treated. So we're going to start with the D. So give me the D. 10% of the population is the D. So keeping that in mind. So think of, the reason why I put a picture on there is the D is like the big eagle. So they're powerful. They're usually CEOs, presidents, CFOs, COOs, entrepreneurs. So 10% of the population is the D. So again, think of like kind of powerful people who don't like to take direction from different people. Here's some of the general characteristics of the D. Very dominant, direct, demanding, decisive, determined, problem solver, doer. They're not the talker. They're just going to get in there and do the job. Risk taker, definitely defiant. Typically do not like anybody telling them what they can and can't do. They're going to do it themselves. And then self-starters, like I was talking about with the entrepreneur part of it. What does the D want? The Ds want to win. Now, keep in mind, if you're a real estate agent, a lender, if you are a high D yourself and you're working with somebody else that is also a high D, let them win. Who cares if you win or not? They're the ones putting money in your bank account. So it shouldn't really matter who it is. Just let them win, because they want to win just as bad as you do. So just kind of put that aside and be like, yep, you're right. You got this. They like to plan for the future. They love new ideas. So if they're giving you new ideas, even if it may be your idea anyways, and you're already thinking about it, be like, oh, that's a great idea. Thank you. They like the results. They like to be their own boss. They like to move very fast. Sometimes they can cause anxiety in other people because they're changing all the time and boom, 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 always on the go. They like challenge and they like freedom.
I think one thing that I just want to recap is, like, and you said it, you kind of brushed over, is you said that if you have two Ds and you both want to win, like it doesn't help you win if you're trying to win against a D. You're going to lose because they want to win. 100%. So you gotta suck it up and go, all right, that's a skill. That's a skill to learn. That
it's a skill, and it's hard to do, especially when you're high D yourself. And you're right. You just have to keep thinking in the back of your mind, because if both of you guys are wanting to win and you're butting heads, you just got to be like, all right, they're keeping my lights on. They're paying my bills right now. So who cares? Let them win. Yeah. And it's hard to do, and it is a skill, Scott. You're right. So some of the D's potential weaknesses that they have is they definitely can overstep authority. They can come across argumentative. They can take it. They can give it, but and they can take it. But also keep in mind, like when you're working with the D, like, if they're coming across argumentative and stuff, they don't even maybe realize that they're doing it. They just come across kind of argumentative. So they're not trying to hurt your feelings. And it sometimes can come across that they don't really have feelings and stuff because they're so direct. Just keep in mind they do. They're not even thinking about that.
You know, and
they don't like routine. Go ahead.
Sorry, Greg has a great question. It says if you're not a D, if you're not a D, how do you convince them you're right? Like, and I think you're in relation to giving them the best program, the best rate, the best short-term, long-term plan.
I'm going to go over that in a minute.
Cool. Awesome.
It's coming up on my next slide. So I'm going to talk about how to communicate with the Ds, so that I'm going to help you with that part too. So
very cool.
And what to do and how to write an email and some of the things of how to communicate with them, that's coming up. So that's a good question. Sometimes the Ds can attempt too much at once. What I mean by that is they could have 5 or 6 things going at a time. They kind of sometimes come across as ADHD. So they're like, so they need a really good assistant when they're working with them. If you are a high D and you know that about yourself, paying the extra money or paying for like a coach or paying for something like that is huge, because it'll help cause less anxiety in others if that's you. And it'll help you kind of stay organized too. They can sometimes be critical and fault finding. So if you find yourself working with somebody that is a high D and you know that, they may find every little thing wrong that you're doing. Again, they're not trying to be a D, but they are. And it just comes across that way. So don't take that offensively. Inattentive to details and may resist participation as a team because they think that they're doing everything right. So
interesting.
What's the D's greatest fear? Being taken advantage of. So keep that in mind. They don't want to feel like they're being taken advantage of. How to relate to a D. So here's what, Greg was talking about with the D. Biggest thing is communicate briefly and to the point. Minimize small talk. So let's say you're on a call and you're a high I, and we're going to get into the I's in a minute, and you're like a talker and do you know this person? Do you know that person? They don't want to hear about that. They don't want to hear about your kid's soccer game or your kid's dance recital. They don't. So just keep it to the point and brief. So remember that when you're working with the D. Ask what questions, not how questions. What can I do to get this deal to move along even faster for you? Not how can I do this for you? They don't want to know how you can do it, because that means they hired you to do that. Ask what questions. Avoid any details. They do not like details. So that's where I'll get into the C's, where they want like the details, and the S's. They want details of everything and how to do everything and stuff like that. Avoid that and give them bullet points. Here's the 3 things I need you to do when I'm working on your house, or your pre-approval, or let's say they're not pre-approved. Here's the 3 things you need to do to get to that approval process, and just keep it very short. Respect their need for autonomy. Like, just let them do their own thing, and ask them at the beginning if you've realized and how that they're a D, and you'll know because when they're sending you a text, when they're sending you an email, it's going to be straight and to the point. That is your number 1 clue that they are a D, that you're working with a D. If they're kind of short and curt with you, that's another thing to look for, that they're a high D. So then you would ask them things like, how would you like me to communicate with you at the beginning of this process when I'm doing your loan? So that would be one question that you could ask. Be clear about the rules and expectations. Here's what you can expect from me. 1, 2, 3 bullet points. Keep it short and simple. Let them initiate the conversation or how they would like to do it. So once you ask them the questions, hey, about being clear with the rules and expectations, let them say, this is how they want you to work for them, basically.
Gotcha.
Show your competence. If you don't show that you're competent as their lender, then they're gonna basically move on to the next one. So if you realize that they're a high D, and if that's maybe not your style, and let's say you have a processor or something, you would say to them, hey, my processor is going to be working with you from the start to finish, and here's why. Being very honest with them and to the point is going to be huge. Sticking to the topic, that's another big one with them. If you stick to the topic and not move on and go on to all these different other little things, that'll be good for them. And then eliminate time wasters. How will you know you're a D? So that's one of the things.
Who knows they're a D right now? Like, do we even have to act like, hello, we already know.
I'm 50% D, 50% I. I'll be completely honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a DI, so that's what I am. So give me an I. We call them, and this is just for reference for you guys, is the parrot. 20% of the population is parrot. You'll know right away. I is the easiest one to identify. You'll know right away because they're chatting with everybody. They know everybody. They're Mr. Popularity. They can walk into a grocery store, meet somebody in the grocery store line, and next thing you know, they're friends with them on Facebook. Okay. So you know right away the I's. They're the easiest. I'd say D and I are probably the easiest to identify. Here's some of the general characteristics of the I. They're inspiring. They're influencing. They're impressionable. They're kind of flashy. You walk in and you're like, oh yeah, that person's definitely an I. You can just tell. Impressive, involved, enthusiastic, trusting, very short attention span, flashy, classy attire. You can tell sometimes by what they drive, and they're talkative and animated. They use their hands a lot, and they're really getting into it. And they're, the eyes, the parrots.
Love it.
What does an I want? They definitely want to be liked. So if you're a loan officer, here's one way to win some of their business. If you know that your client is now an I, you can give them shout outs on Facebook or any kind of like what Scott did for me. I loved that, like it made me feel good. It made me feel special. Let's say you're working with, I'm just going to use this as an example, like a teacher, for instance, you can go, and they just got Teacher of the Year award and you saw that on social media. You can give them a shout out and be like, hey, this teacher just got Teacher of the Year, and just kind of build them up. And they love that. So those are little things you can do. Give them a shout out on if they're a painter, whatever it is that you're working with, giving them any kind of shout outs or sending them like a little gift. They love those kind of things. They like to express their ideas and feelings. They like to be in front of a big group and share their knowledge. They like surprises. So any little surprises that you can give or little gifts, and you find out something that means something to them or special, give them a little gift. You're going to win their business that way, because that's one bad thing about the I's is let's say you want to get their job as a loan officer, and they've probably already told 5 other loan officers, yeah, when I sell my house or when I buy a house, whatever, you're going to be my loan officer. And then it gets to that point, and then they're like, oh shit, I just told 5 people because I like 5 people and I'm good friends with 5 people. Now what do I do? One thing that you can do that's going to set yourself apart from everybody else is giving them that attention, doing whatever you can to try to secure that business. Whereas the other 4 people may not do it. That's one thing that's going to get you to the top of the list to be their loan officer.
So you're saying just be visible like nobody's business when it's an I.
Yes.
Like if you're that person, loving them and appreciating them and thanking them, you're awesome and all that stuff, blast them. Yeah, they love that. Yep.
They like the recognition, and then they like people. They also like to know if they have common, like, let's say I'd say, Scott, oh my gosh, I noticed we had 9 mutual friends on Facebook. How do you know so-and-so? That's a way to kind of build a rapport with them back and forth.
Gotcha.
Here's some of their weaknesses, and this is very true. Inattentive to detail, listens when it's convenient, meaning if it's boring to them, they're going to be moving on to the next thing. If it's fun for them, then they're all in. They can oversell, especially when they make. This is a prime example of a high I. If they have lots of friends, and something comes up on the weekend, and they just told 6 other people, yeah, I'll be there. Well, in the end, it just pisses everybody off because you're maybe there for 5 minutes and there for 10 minutes, and you're not being intentional with the time that you're being. So you have to learn to be like, okay, I'm not going to oversell. I'm not going to overcommit to you. I'm going to be there when I can be there with you, and just be intentional with the time that you're there. That's what it means by difficult to plan and estimate time. So you just have to be intentional. If you're a high I, make sure you're being intentional with the time that you say that you're going to give them. They can be more concerned with popularity than tangible results. So a lot of times I's also need those assistants and somebody who does have that attention to detail, because otherwise you can be all over, and that could be a potential weakness with the I's. The I's greatest fear is rejection. So if somebody doesn't like them, so they can feel rejected, feeling like, oh gosh, they think that I'm not genuine, or they think that this, or they think that. So they can be worried about what other people think of them and be rejected by them, because sometimes the high I's can come across as ingenuine, but they're not. They're just naturally people pleasers and stuff like that. So just keeping that in mind. How to relate with an I. Be relaxed and social. They also don't like the details. Let them talk. They're talkers. So if you're also a talker, you have to really be intentional by being quiet and keeping your mouth closed and let them do the talking. Even if you want to say, oh my gosh, the same thing happened to me. That's so cool. Like, just don't. As hard as that is, just stop and let them initiate, because they want to hear about themselves. Keeping the conversation light. Suggest what action they should take, meaning in the loan process, this is what action you should take. If you tell them, what do you think you should do? That would freeze them up. That would be like, ooh, I don't even know what to do. So you have to tell them in details of what you need to do. Here's the 3 bullet points I need you to do, and take these 3 actions. Provide details in writing, but don't dwell on them. So here's the details of what you need to do, but don't give them too much detail where they're going to be overwhelmed. And then if it's like a huge paragraph or like a page long of details, they're going to be like, I don't even know where to start. So just keep it brief and to the point. Again, public knowledge. So if you're not a type of person that doesn't like that public knowledge, because your natural ability isn't that, keep in mind theirs is. So you have to be adaptive to your personality and put it towards them. Does that make sense?
100%. Yep.
Okay. Use humor. They love humor and fun and social. They love that. Freedom from control and detail. Again, don't give them the detail. Just give them exactly what they need to do and keep it short to the point. Use stories about others to convince them, meaning you could say, hey, just so you know, I just closed this guy's loan, and he was a Vikings player or Packer, whatever, and he was awesome. And so meaning use others, or I've closed this many loans. So show them who you know and how many people that you know that will help them convince them to use you as the loan officer. And then help them please others. So let's say they gave you, this is a big one with the eyes, let's say they gave you some referrals of, hey, this guy was my painter, my electrician. You could give that painter or electrician a shout out on Facebook and say, hey, John Smith just introduced me to this guy. He's the best in the business. So it just shows your client that you just does that make sense?
Yeah,
I know I'm saying going fast because I know I'm on time.
No. So what you're saying is like you're applauding someone else for that person. You're talking about the other person in a roundabout way, in a cool way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. Very cool.
Suggestion for an I. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. So
very cool.
That's huge for the I's. D's don't care if they're nice or not. I's do.
All right.
How will you know if you're an I? Here's some things to look for, like in, let's say you're trying to get their business as the loan officer. You can tell right away, either on their Facebook page, you can tell on how they walk or text or what they drive, kind of anything like that. So here's some of the things to look for. Posting a lot on Facebook.
Selfies.
What's that?
Is selfie like a big deal? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of selfies. Yes. I mean, more for the younger generation, but yeah, selfies. In the text message when you reach out to them, and then they would say something to you, because they're probably going to look you up on whatever social media platform and says, how do you know so-and-so? That's a number one clue that they're an I. So the little clues like that, you can tell if they're an I. And if that's I, then all of a sudden you need to kind of switch the way you're thinking. If you're not that I, and be like, oh, I see that you know so-and-so too. And just kind of keep that conversation light. Do not go right into talking about business right away, because it'll turn them off. And they're not going to like that. So just keep those things in mind to earn that business. Give me an S. 30 to 35% of the population is the S's. S's are, they're definitely very supportive, stable. You can see all the things on there. Good listener, team players, possessive, meaning possessive of their clients. You're going to see, and S's are typically, they don't like change. They're going to be in their same job from 9 to 5. They typically wear kind of the same kind of outfits all the time. They go to the same dinner places all the time. That's what I mean by they don't like change. So they're very friendly. They're predictable. Those are some of the general characteristics of the S's. What does the S want? They want to be accepted. They do like to be in a team setting. They like sticking with what works. They like harmony. They like things to stay the same, and they do like routine. So anytime you change up anything with the S's, that can throw them off. So if you're a high D, I think I saw somebody raise their hand that was the high D. D's and S's can sometimes butt heads because D's go really fast and they like to go 100 miles per hour and they change things a lot. If you change anything, if you're a D and you're a loan officer and you're changing anything like on the agreement or something comes up, the best thing you can do with those S's is make sure that you are letting them know and communicating them with them right away. Now, they may be slow to change and they may not like the change that you're doing, but if you communicate that ahead of time with them, then they will slowly adapt to that change and you'll win them over better that way. Now, if you don't share with them and you don't over communicate with them, and you just kind of bring it on them by surprise or they find out after the fact, then they're going to be upset but you won't know it. They're going to keep it inside. They're going to hold a grudge against you. And next thing you know, they're going to maybe cancel you and use another loan officer. And you're like, what the heck did I do? And you may not have any idea because that's not your personality type, but they do. And they do not like any of the changes. So communicating ahead of time works. Now, if you found out the reason why they were mad and then you told them later and you owned up to that mistake and you owned up and took accountability and said, hey, I'm really sorry. They will most likely give you another chance, but don't do it again. That's the big thing with the S's.
I love it.
And that's some of their weaknesses is they do resist change. They're loyal. And a lot of times it's your assistants, your processors, your underwriters, those are a lot of the S's. When I think of like with you guys, they do take a long time to adjust to change. So hopefully this can kind of give you an insight of their mind and how they work. Because that can be very frustrating if you are a high D to be like, oh my gosh, that's so frustrating. Why won't this person change? And you just want to shake them. They are thinking the same thing about you. So putting yourself in other people's shoes is going to help you understand kind of where they're at. And hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Not everybody's thinking the same way that I think. They can hold a grudge for a long time. They are very sensitive to criticism. Again, I keep going back to the D's, but if you're talking to S, whether it's on your team, whether it's a client that you're either trying to win or that you're working with already, and you criticize them or you're using any kind of like, why do you do it that way? And using any kind of body language that's very, like frustrated, the D's may not realize that they're being very forceful. That's going to shut them down into like a little shell, and they're going to be
not my
terrified.
Person. Yeah, not my person. Yeah, they're going to leave. That's why people disappear, right?
Exactly. So if you wonder why is somebody leaving my team constantly? Why is it that it's because it's the way you're talking to them and the way you're speaking with them. Like I know I could talk to somebody on my team that's a high D and I can say exactly how it is, get straight to the point and direct, and they're gonna be fine. Whatever, it's kind of like two dudes, they punch each other and they get over it, right? And it's like, but if you were to punch like a high I or an S, they're gonna go into a shell and be like, oh my gosh, that's scary. I never want to work with that person ever again. And I'm certainly not gonna ever give them a referral again.
Crazy.
Big thing with S's, keep that in mind. If you have to adapt to their personality, that's huge. Difficulty in establishing priorities. What that means with the S's is their S's are yes people. They're going to do everything that you tell them to do and be very want to please you. They're like little dogs, like, I want to please you. Like, I want to do everything I can to make you happy and please you. So they can say yes to everything. However, they can be at a high burnout rate because they're trying to do everything they can to please you, staying late at night, whatever it is. Gotcha. And they have trouble sharing their feelings because, again, they don't want to hurt your feelings. So they're going to do everything they can, but they can get burnt out. S's greatest fear is loss of security, meaning they lose their job is their biggest fear because they are very much pleasers. Here's how you can relate to an S. Be very friendly and supportive. Don't use any kind of like really strong language or body language or communication with them. Ask how, not what questions. Use evidence of benefit to convince, meaning if they don't want to do the change, you have to use evidence of why it's going to be a better change for them, why it's going to be benefit, and how they're going to get more money if you do it this way. So you have to use evidence. Let's say you were a real estate agent and you want to use like a stager in their house, and they don't want a stager in their house. You have to use evidence like, hey, statistics say that if you have somebody that's going to come in and decorate your house, you're going to get 20% more for your house. That's what I mean by that. Be patient when introducing change, because they don't like the change. So if you're patient with them, just know, because if you're a D, you're going to be like, no, let's do it now. S's don't work that way. So keep that in mind. You just have to be patient and be like, okay, here's the change, or we're going to switch software, or we're going to do this. That's okay. But just give them some time to adapt to that, and they will eventually come around.
Love it.
Display a sincere interest in them. Again, remember when I was talking about how the D's don't want to hear about anything about your kids or anything? It's not that they're trying to be jerks or anything. They just want to they have one thing on their mind, and that's the goal to get to this many transactions or this many loans closed. With the S's, even if it's painful for you, hey, I saw that your little Johnny just won a hockey tournament this weekend. They like that you're showing a sincere interest in them. It seems to them then you're more genuine in that you're just not a transaction. Present ideas when require them to choose how they do something in a non-threatening manner. Give them time to adjust. Provide personal insurance and follow-up support. If you're not doing that, that's another thing that will turn them off. If you're not saying, okay, by this time, the underwriter is going to be done by this time, we're going to have a clear to close at this time, and then have specific dates for them. But if you don't do that, then they're going to think that you're incompetent. Help them understand how their actions minimize risk, and never, ever, ever, and I can't express enough, change the environment without asking. So that's going to be how you can relate to the S's. Huge. And I can send you this PowerPoint too if you want to ever go back and be like,
yeah, I'll put it up with the recording. Absolutely. That'd be great.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then how will you know you're an S's? Typically, they've been in their job for 10, 15, 20 years, long times. They're loyal. You'll know when they don't like the change. So you'll kind of understand when they send an email, it's very detail orientated. You know, like even if it's like, how do I get directions there? They're going to have step by step instructions on how to find that. So those are some things to look for with the S's. Same with the text message. So that's what you can look for for the S's, that you'll know your client is an S. And then lastly is give me a C. 20 to 25% of the population is the C. Think of mathematicians, accountants. You'll know even a real estate agent is a high C, because they're going to know the purchase agreement front to back and backwards and forwards before you do. So if you're working with a high C, make sure that you really know your stuff, because that's going to be the biggest turnoff for anybody who is not a C. That you don't know what you're doing. And we call these the owls. Think of the wise old owls.
Yeah.
They question everything. Yeah. My sister's a very high C, so her and I can kind of sometimes butt heads, and I just know when to be quiet, because she's always right. And typically, I'd never admit this to her, but typically she is, because she's done her research. She's done everything she needs to do they know everything. I mean, they're studying constantly. They're very analytical, accurate, factual, diplomatic. Here's some of the characteristics of the C. They're cautious, calculating, very competent, cognitive, contemplative, careful, cold. They come across cold, perfectionist, dresses the same. Usually it's black and white or gray in their closet, and it's always the same. That's a big one to realize if you're working with the C or not. Inaccurate. They like to be right. So they're not going to tell you this. Like if you're also one that likes to be right and you're wrong, they'll keep it inside. But inside they're like, that's an incompetent jerk. I'm not going to work with that guy anymore. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or girl anymore. They don't know what they're talking about. They like to know what's expected, clear instruction, establish a pattern. They will always start what they finish. So meaning they can sometimes come across really slow, so that can drive a D very crazy, because they're very slow, but they're methodical, and they'd rather do it right the first time than be wrong and and not get it right.
Hmm.
They're very organized. Things like to stay the same, and they do like to work independently. So one thing if you know that your client is a high C, don't ever give them any kind of kudos on Facebook, kind of like the I likes that. The C would hate that.
Hmm.
If you're in a room and you're talking to a room, let's say for the first time home buyers or whatever, and you can kind of tell they're sitting in the back and very quiet and don't ever call them out and have them come in front of the class, because they would die.
Hmm.
They'd rather kind of go underneath the table and suck their thumb and rock back and forth. They do not want to be center of attention at all. So keep that in mind. That's a huge no-no for the C's.
Hmm.
Okay. Some of the potential weaknesses, they do need clear boundaries. They're very bound by procedures and methods, meaning like they're rule followers. So if you were to tell them like, oh no, you can't do it that way, they're very bound to the rules. They can get bogged down in the details. So they're kind of like the S's, very detailed oriented. They'll write a dissertation on how to be a loan officer, and that could drive you crazy, but who cares, right? They're putting money in your pocket. They'd rather give in than argue. So they know they're right in their mind, so they're going to give in, and they already know in their mind that they're right, but they're not going to sit and argue with you, but they will move on to the next loan officer. They do not verbalize their feelings very well. They avoid involvement when threatened. So if you threaten them to be in a group setting or a team-like setting, they're going to be they may do it, but they're going to resent you for it, and they're not going to want to do it. They're very black and white. You don't have to really wonder what they're thinking. And does not like to delegate tasks. They definitely do not want anybody else to do their work because they can do it better than you can. That's what is in their mind anyways. What do C's fear? Criticism. So if you're criticizing their work after they've already put in months or weeks or hours or days of work, they're going to fear that. Trading speed for quality. They don't like people who are like very fast talking, very fast moving. They don't like that. Irrational acts, meaning you're making changes every 5 minutes. They can't stand that. Making mistakes. Again, that's a big thing with fears. Large group interactions, failure to meet your expectations, and then lack of structure. So if you're a loan officer that said,
all over the place,
here's your bulletproofs,
yeah,
you're done.
Yeah,
right there. You're done right there. So, but if you give a detail, and that's great with Chat GPT, they can do it for you. They can give you all the details you want, and you're going to look like an absolute rock star.
Good point.
What do the C's want? They want to be right. They like to know what's expected. So set those expectations right up front of what they need when you're working with them as a loan officer. They like that established pattern. So think of like an automated like pizza tracker from like Domino's or something. From this time to this time, it's 24 hours before you're going to see this. From this time to this time, and it'll be 48 hours. So set that expectation and that pattern up front with them.
Great analogy.
And that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that'll be huge. And that'll be a win for you guys. And that'll be a win for them. And let's say Mr. Johnson is a high C, and you know he's that's how you need to communicate with them. But you're working with the wife too, and she's, let's say, a high I, you're going to communicate completely different with them. And so just knowing that, like, here's what you need to do. I'm going to give you all the details here, Mr. Johnson, on what to be expected. And then I'm going to talk to the wife and say, so what'd you do this weekend? Did you have fun? Oh my gosh, I did this too. And then, oh, and by the way, you need to do this, this, and this, and just 3 quick bullet points of what she needs to do too. So yes, it may take a little bit more time, but again, you're going to get more referrals in the long run for that.
Love it.
And they like things very organized. Here's how you can communicate with the C, and we're just about done here. I'm sorry if I've gone over here.
Good.
I've been trying to talk fast. So
it's all good.
Communicating with the C. So being prepared, provide the pros and cons with the C, support ideas with accurate data, because don't take offense to this, but if you give them all the things that you've said that you're going to do for them, and there's something that's going to be inaccurate in there, they will find it. So just keep that in mind. So if that's not your strength and you're not a very detail orientated person, make sure your processor or whoever is on your team or your assistant or whatever is that person that can communicate with that C better than you can. And it's okay if you can admit that that's not your strength, and be honest with them. Like, hey, I may not be the most detail orientated person. Here's what you can expect from me. Here's the strengths I do have, but my processor assistant is going to be the one that you're going to be communicated with, and it's going to give you all the detailed information.
Great idea.
Yeah. So No surprises. They don't like any surprises. And even when it comes to any kind of changes, that's kind of like the S, they don't want that. Provide step-by-step approach to a goal. So here's the goal. Here's where we need to get everything done by, and then have step-by-step instructions of how you're going to get to that goal. If you're agreeing, be specific. Yep, I agree with you because you're right on this, and then give them the specific detail. And if disagree with the facts, meaning it could be like, hey, I'm not the one this is more for the real estate agent, but I'm not the one who is dictating what the price of your house is, the market is. So, and here's why, and have the statistics of what the market's doing right now. Minimize the small talk. They don't care. Kind of like the D's, they don't care about anything about your weekend and stuff like that. They just want to get the house sold and to the finish line. Ask why, not what questions. Provide feedback and direction on what they need to do. Don't be vague, and know that they will double check everything. They're not trying to be jerks. That's how their mind works.
Love it.
What is a C's greatest fear? Criticism. Because they like to be right. They've done their homework. They've done their research. They put the time into it. And so that's the biggest thing with the C's.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So I'm just going to do a quick little quiz with you guys.
Right.
You're talking to an IT technician about a computer problem. What style do you need to display?
Ooh, I won't say S or C.
You're talking to an IT technician about a computer problem. So very detail orientated. Yep, it could be an S or C. That was kind of a trick question. Yes. All right. Your manager is unavailable as the group is hit with a major crisis and no one is taking charge. Who would you go to for display for D, I, S, or C? Who is the person that's going to take charge and be like, let's go. We got to do this, this, and this, and just be direct and straight to the point?
D or an I. Ashley said D.
Yep. D.
Get her done.
Get her done. Yep. You need to calm down an upset customer who is venting about poor customer service. Who is the sweet person that you would go to that is like, okay, you don't need somebody who's going to be direct. You need somebody who's going to be sweet and nice, that is going to calm somebody down.
I would say S.
Yes, S is right. A coworker has just lost a close family member. Who's going to give you the most attention and kind of coddle you and be sweet and be like, oh, I'm so sorry,
S or C?
Yes, it'd be S.
Okay.
You need to review a settlement statement with a seller who is a math teacher.
C.
Yep, very analytical, very detailed. Yep, C. Yeah. You're attending a networking event and want to make new connections.
Oh, that's an easy one. I. Yep.
I.
Actually,
yep.
Right, yep.
I think I saw Marilyn say it. I. Yep. A colleague questions your judgment on a recent decision.
I would say a C again.
Yep. C and could be D too, because they're going to question everything. They don't really care if they hurt your feelings or not. They're just going to get straight to the point. Yep. Final thoughts. Getting good players is easy. Getting them to play together is the hard part. And that's so true. Like, again, just keep in mind, like, you have your natural style. Like, my natural style would probably be I and then D. That's my natural style. I know that I have to adapt to so many people around you. You have to be chameleon. So, but I also think, like, okay, I have to provide for my family, me and my husband do, and we have to provide. And so that's fine. If I have to be a chameleon and adjust to the way that they want to be treated, not the way I want to be treated, I'm going to do that.
Very cool.
So that's it.
Tera,
does anybody have any questions?
No, Tera, this was amazing. I think, and this isn't a one and done. You can't watch this class and learn this stuff. I think you really need to focus on this big time, because once you know it, it's kind of like body language. If you learn how to read body language, you learn how to read their disc profile, you put both of those together, you'll close so many more deals just doing that, knowing who you're talking to. So I really appreciate you being, coming on. I know you have like part 2 of this, so I'd love to have you back on and like do part 2 or whatever you were talking about the other day. It was great stuff. So this is so valuable. Like, it's invaluable. I would say it's so, like, once you get this and you start understanding people and you start listening to people, you start looking for people, slowing down a little bit and going, all right, who am I talking to by how they communicate, by how they call, how they talk, what they say, how they are on social media, how they text, all those little things. That'll make a huge difference in how the process goes. And if they work with you, don't work with you, or if they refer you, because it all plays a part in all of this. So there's so many different things we could talk about here and go different directions. So I appreciate everybody hanging out.
Become less frustrated.
Yeah, right, right.
Right. Once you understand kind of their brain and how it works, like I probably get really frustrated with the CM. Like they're so detailed oriented. They're so I thought
just do it already. Just
then I was like, oh my God, they're so frustrating. Let's go. Like, come on, hurry up.
Yeah.
But now I get it.
Yep.
And now I'm like, it helps me give them more grace.
Yeah.
And it helps me slow down and listen to them and understand the way their brain works.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like once they go through it too, with like some of the classes, we get more into it and deeper into it, it helps them understand my brain too, you know, and it just makes it easier for the transaction each time. That's why a lot of people on my team are like, okay, Tara, can you handle this problem? Can you handle this issue? Can you handle it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I give them grace and understand kind of where their brain is at.
Yeah. If it was me, I would, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually like put on your screensaver, DISC. So when you actually talk to somebody, you are thinking about it because it's the first thing you see. So actually pay attention to who you're talking to, who you're working with, how they're talking, how they're saying, what they're doing on social media. That all plays a part in you creating a referable experience so that they're happy, which turns into more referrals, future business. They'll remember you because you treated them the way they want to be treated. Huge deal here. So,
and I'll give you, I created a little postcard. I can send it to you guys in a PDF too. And it gives example, D is the eagle, I is the parrot, S is like a sweet little dove, and then C is the wise old owl. And that's kind of how I remember it too. Like, okay, if I'm talking to a high C, I'm like, okay, owl, you know, and it just helps me like.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Yeah, so I'll send that out to you too.
All right. Tara, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my friend, for taking time out of your day. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Same time, same place tomorrow. Don't miss out. Our friend Lynn Goss is going to be back to talk about the divorce niche. That's it's unbelievable. Only 1% of the U.S. is doing this as far as real estate and loan officers. So she will be back. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us a little bit longer today. Tara, you're awesome. Welcome back anytime, my friend.
Thank you.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.